Alright, so you may be asking yourself, when am I going to get fast internet service at your house? Well, the federal government in the US has a plan to spend $20 billion to actually improve it. And they actually have allocated what places or what houses are going to get this funding. So I'm going to show you how you can find out if your house is actually allocated to get service, as well as who actually serves you currently, which you might actually be surprised by, as well as who gets funding to actually add service to you in the next several years. So there are a couple different websites you can go to, and you can actually go to a map, type in your address, and find out all this information. So let me go through that for you. Now, before I get too far, I must say I am Nate, and this is the Nader Tater channel. I cover lots of things on my channel. One big one is internet and Wi-Fi and smart home stuff. So please consider subscribing, hitting the like button if you like the video, and help support the channel. So let's get into these websites. I'm going to put links down in the video description as well. But I'm going to go through at a high level here on my tablet and show it here on my screen so you can see what I'm talking about, as well as dig into it a little bit more details on your own if you want, because I can't go through it all in a video. Alright, so to start off with, this federal program, it's called the RDOF, or Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, and that's what I'm talking about. It has about $20 billion allocated to spend for what they call either underserved or unserved areas of the U.S. for broadband. And what they originally really claimed broadband requirement is about 25 megabits per second down and 3 up. Now they've kind of expanded that to some degree, in that they're hoping for over 100 megabits per second down, but I think that 25 is the bare minimum that they consider to even get credit. So these plans are really like a 10-year plan, but it kind of started back in like 2020. So by 2030, everything's supposed to be figured out, and they've had 2 rounds. They had phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 was really for places that were unserved, so they had no broadband access at all. And that's where the first roughly half of the money, $10 billion, got allocated. And again, that was back in the end of 2020. And then since then, they've now had a second round that is phase 2. And that one is to try to get this 100 megabits per second down and 20 megabits per second up as kind of the baseline for what they call underserved areas. So areas that maybe had some opportunity there to get some broadband, but not like kind of competitive or widespread across the census blocks. Now, I mentioned the census blocks because this, especially the phase 2 one, is based off of FCC data. So this is kind of a big ask. Any of these government programs, they're never perfect, and it's because it's so hard to get all this data right. So what they basically did is they went and asked the ISPs, right? So the Fox watching the hen house, they asked the ISPs what addresses they served, and then they trusted them effectively. And now I made a video back several months ago about how you could go in there and you could challenge if the ISP reported your house wrong. And I actually did that, and I had a challenge in my house because Comcast said to FCC that they serve my house. And that's a lie, because I contacted Comcast to try to get service, and they wanted $18,000 to add my house to their service, to basically, and that wasn't the cost of adding the line down my driveway, which is a long driveway, but it was actually to add infrastructure on their side to service this address. So basically I challenged it. I said, hey, you guys don't serve me. Claiming I have to pay $18,000 to get service does not mean that you serve me today. And I actually won that challenge, and they took off their name from this address as being one that's served. So I'll talk about that here in a second as well. So there's some other asterisks with these government programs. One is, to be honest with you, it's not guaranteed that even if a place gets approved to get money to serve your house, that they will actually follow through with it. So the government does have requirements that they show, like proof of commitment, that they have line of credit, all this kind of stuff in there. But truthfully, the penalty for them to back out is not that steep compared to what these companies pay to do business. And so if they deem we don't want to go into that, even though we won the auction or the rights to serve that area and get paid money from the FCC, if they deem that it doesn't align with their business plans anymore, they can back out. Now they're penalized, but again, they can back out. All right, and then the last thing I want to touch on here is the deployment requirement. So this is the other key one: is when do they have to provide service to your house if they win money to actually serve an address? And the first one is they have to have 40% of that area served within the first 3 years that they get fully funded or fully approved. And then 60% have to be deployed by year 4, 80% by year 5, and 100% by year 6. So they have up to 6 years from when they are fully approved to get this. So it still means by 2030 effectively is really the date that all this would be done by. So let's go in and show you how you can see what you have at your house and then how you can confirm what's approved later. So let me go into this broadbandmap.fcc.gov. Again, I'll put links in the video description. And I just typed in, it asks you for an address. I typed in a random one. I'm in Michigan. So I just picked, I don't want to pick someone's house. So I picked a nature sanctuary here. And then you can see here what kind of offerings they have. So fixed broadband, they show several options here. The first one is AT&T, and they give copper. They give you the speed that they guarantee, and this is typically, I think, the highest speed that they would offer. So they would probably offer cheaper plans as well for slower service. Comcast, it says it offers cable there at 1.2 gigs down and 35 megabits per second up. You can get cable, you can get SpaceX, you can get T-Mobile home internet. Now, for whatever reason, a lot of the T-Mobile 5G home internet stuff is listed at 0.2 megabits per second down and up, which is in some ways humorous because they sometimes are that slow, but a lot of times they're faster, a lot faster. So there's some kind of typo there that they did. I think they meant to definitely have something else in there. Verizon, again, is this Verizon 5G home internet. So licensed fixed wireless is what that service is. And they offer 300 down, 20 up. And then Viastat's another one. So that shows you what the options are. Now, these ones are kind of well-known ones that you would maybe think about. You might not know that maybe Verizon and T-Mobile serve your address, and this would be a way that you could, oh, look, I can get 5G home internet. And then you can go to their websites and search, and it should be an approved address. But there are times I've actually found, like for some friends of mine, that they were struggling to find good service. They've tried Verizon and T-Mobile home internet. They didn't get great service. They actually had another provider, which was like a local provider that provided wireless service. I didn't even know about them, but they actually showed up on here. So you can actually maybe learn about some ISPs that are not the big ISPs, but they'll serve your address. So there is also mobile in there as well. You can look at what mobile like cell phone service is provided. All right, so now this site here is the RDOF Auction 904, and now this is a website that kind of combines all the FCC data. It is free to use. Now it asks you to sign in. You can just hit cancel. And it appears to still work fully from what I see. But this hello is kind of important to see because it shows you here what it means as far as RDOF fully authorized, ready to authorize, bids and default, presumed default. So default means that the ISP won the auction. They got rights to serve those addresses, but they backed out and they said we're not going to do it. So that's what defaulted means. Ready to authorize means that they don't have the funding yet, but most of these are going to be fully authorized, which means these are the providers that are going to serve this address. So let's go in here and zoom in. Now, I haven't used my tablet on this site, but it looks slightly different on a computer. But what you have to do is go into the layers here and unhide some of these. So the auction winners is really what I want to show. And again, this is just for the US, but you can kind of see at a high level here where these are. These are going to mostly be in the rural areas, right? Not downtown cities, because the assumption is that a lot of these downtown cities already have broadband service, and this is really for underserved areas. So I'm going to go into Michigan here and just kind of show you this, but you can do this for any state that's out there. This is really high level, just showing you where some of these places are. And again, there's a couple dots here and there around cities, but really a lot of it is outside of the cities. So if I were to pick some random place here in southeast Michigan, it's going to show you some different ones that want it. And what's kind of curious about this, especially if you can see here on the screen, almost all these that show you, it shows you Mercury Wireless. So these are things that you may recognize the name or you may not. And there is actually kind of a cheat sheet that, some of these companies like Comcast or whatnot, they actually have like a different name for a contractor or one of their shell companies that actually bids on these auctions. But from what I do know, Mercury Wireless is kind of a smaller local one in this area, and it looks like they won a lot of the services, and I think they provide wireless service only, so no cable or internet. But you can click on it in a specific area, and it will show you things like how much awarded annual support they get for serving these areas. And I think like this one shows $60.06. I think that is per household. I'm not actually positive on that, but I do know it's an annual amount that they get, and then it gives you some other details as well here from what it is. But what they basically did was they called it a reverse auction, which means the lowest bidder. So they would say, hey, here's all of our addresses, Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, Mercury Wireless, all these places, put in a bid for how much you would take, the smallest dollar amount you would take to get paid to serve this area. And in this area, at least Mercury Wireless won all of those bids. So they are actually, that's how they won the auction basically. They had the cheapest price out there. So that's how you can see if they are fully funded. Now again, you can go in your layers, and since I said auction winners and fully funded there, that's how I got it. But you can go in here to fully authorized. Let's uncheck the winners and do fully authorized. That's actually what I meant to do kind of the first time, because this means that these companies basically have authorization to spend the money. Now in this case, it's still all Mercury Wireless here, and it's really the same information. But that's what you want to do, is make sure it's fully authorized. So if it's ready to authorize or some other term, it's really not the same thing. So let me see if I can zoom out and find something else here that's out here, so you can see all these different companies that are out here. You can click on any one of these, and you can see the dollar amount will vary greatly. Like this one here, it shows you $143,000 annual support to serve this area. Now it's a large area, so I guess this does mean that that dollar amount is for that entire block that is selected. But some of these are a significant amount of money, and it's because of the amount of infrastructure that has to get added to actually serve these places. So that's how you can see it. Hopefully it helps. Dig around with the links that I put in the video description. Tell me what you find. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and then let's see how it goes.